Aquarius, it's Raina. I have a video here on 3 things that every Aquarius should know in 2021. And 2 out of the 3 are things that are already, that were already underway in 2020. But perhaps you are not aware of them or don't know what they really mean, even though you heard that they were happening. And the first one is Jupiter and Saturn in your sign. And I've already done a video on what this means for you that is more extended. Okay, so it's a podcast, when I say video, it's more of an audio. But you can check my channel and just type that in if you're interested and you haven't heard it yet. But I will just briefly touch upon it. So Jupiter and Saturn went into Aquarius around the winter solstice, or we could just say the December solstice time in that week. And of course, every sign is going to experience this in a different way because this is going to affect a different house of theirs. And this is where it gets interesting, Aquarius, because if you are listening for your sun sign, and I pretty much intended for this to be for the sun signs, even though this will affect the rising sign, but you don't really identify yourself as an Aquarius if it's your rising sign typically, so that's why I did it this way. Your sun sign doesn't tell you where the sun is in your chart. You have to have a natal chart for that, and that requires your time of birth. It's a very precise thing. So if you don't know where your sun is, that would be a good thing to find out, because that will give you even more information about where this is occurring in your natal chart. And the natal chart is used a lot for mundane predictions. In other words, just the day-to-day things in this world, and you being impacted by certain influences. So that's just another layer of this. But by virtue of Jupiter and Saturn being in your sign, just independent of where it falls in your chart, when we're talking about in terms of the solar information, this is the first house. And that means that it's affecting you in terms of you as an individual, okay? Jupiter can expand your horizons. And that means that you can get, you can find new opportunities in general in your life. The first house, we can just talk about anything that is happening in your life. Even like maybe even travel opportunities that give you a whole new persona that kind of add to who you are. Philosophical pursuits, including religion or spirituality, we could call that. And you may feel more positive, just in a basic sense, more optimistic, because Jupiter is like that. Saturn is more serious. And I think it's a nice balance between Jupiter and Saturn in the same sign, because it's like one sign can be excessive, Jupiter, and Saturn can be restrictive. And so Saturn is very much about discipline, about order, organization, and about making something manifest in the physical form. So creating structure, okay? Jupiter is more about dreaming big. But Jupiter could be, if you know what the symbol of, one of them is the archer with the arrow. And those arrows can be the arrows, the rockets of desire, the arrows of desire. Uh, Abraham Hicks talks about rockets of desire, these things that we are putting forth as our hopes and wishes and things like that. And Sagittarians, which is a sign ruled by Jupiter, tend to be very much like that, where they're very optimistic, they are very hopeful, but sometimes you're shooting off so many arrows and you're not stopping to actually participate in structuring these things. So dreaming big is awesome, but you have to also provide a structure for things to manifest. And that also goes down to your habits. And that's where Saturn also excels in that discipline that people employ in their lives. I think a lot of people, they really want that sort of, okay, my dream is coming true and it just drops in my lap. And yeah, that's cool. And maybe that does happen now and again. But most times, people dream big and then they roll up their sleeves and they get down to work. But it's a labor of love. It's not something that feels like drudgery. So Saturn in your sign can help you just structure your life so that you have more success in a tangible way, so that you can see the fruits of your labor. You can, and also for the future. Preparing that soil for the future. The second thing is a blue moon in your sign on August 22nd. So we've heard the phrase once in a blue moon, right? And the blue moon is the second full moon in a month. Now, I still am not entirely sure if it has to be in the same sign. I do believe it has to. Because when they say within a month, it must have to be in the same sign. And so Aquarius is having two full moons in your sign. The first one is on July 23rd. I'm not sure if that would be different depending on your well, I know it's going to be different on your time zone, but I'm talking about that date. That's going to be on July 23rd, and it's going to be at 1 degree of Aquarius. The second one is going to be on August 22nd at 29 degrees of Aquarius. So almost the first degree. 0 would be actually the first degree, but at the very beginning and at the very end. So these kind of bookends can be, the first one can almost be like an initiation of sorts. Even though full moons can bring things to completion, since it's at such an early degree, it's like the start of something, the beginning of the end, maybe, But again, if this is your sun sign, Aquarius, then, it would be really interesting to know what house or houses this is falling in, because a lot of astrologers use the unequal house system, which means that you can have multiple signs in one house. And sometimes, this is very common, that somebody has, like, for instance, let's say your sun is in the 7th house at 2 degrees of Aquarius, and you have, your 8th house cusp is 24 degrees, so you might have these full moons in different houses, in other words. And that can also give you more information about what to expect and maybe the situation that could occur. I think in that situation, it would be very much related to relationships and what has been held back. If two people are having problems in a relationship and they find out, a secret comes out, or the person just bears their soul to the other person. And it doesn't mean that the relationship will definitely come to an end, but it certainly will expose a lot that was lying beneath the surface. So it can be very emotional. But like I said, that was just an example. It doesn't mean that's going to happen to you specifically. And then the third thing is the North Node is still in Gemini in 2021, which is a trine to you because it's another air sign. And this is the fifth house. So the fifth house is the house of love, creativity, and the business that you own. Definitely, if you have been wanting to start a business, Aquarius, this would certainly be the year. You may feel an actual pull to do so. And even if you are not confident enough to devote all your attention to that and to quit a day job, you can still do this on the side and kind of tend to it like a young seedling and at least get it underway, because it's kind of like destined for you to be creative this year in one way, shape, or form. So if it's not starting a business, if you have some kind of talent, artistic talent, that you have been avoiding expressing, it would be very advantageous for you to do so. I don't even know if I'd use the word advantageous, because I don't want to make this like, oh wow, you're going to just like clean up. It's destiny. The North Node, whether this is your, whether I'm talking about your natal North Node or the transing one, is, nudging you in a certain direction at this point in life. Even if it's a hobby, it might be like an incredibly fulfilling hobby that lifts your spirits, that makes you feel like you're connected to something greater than yourself, that brings joy to other people, all of those things. And the nodes, the transing nodes are connected to the eclipses. So it's not surprising that there will be an eclipse in Gemini this year. And I will mention that since it's related to this. It's going to be on June 10th, a solar eclipse at 19 degrees of Gemini. So in this fifth house, this could be the start of something big. Maybe this is someone and you lay eyes on them and it's like the world disappears. It's like that person is your soulmate or something like that. And I don't want to build it up or anything like that, but I'm just saying that a solar eclipse can shake up your world, but this could be in a very positive way. And this can be a time of great creativity, like prolific creativity. And the fifth house is also the house of fun. I should, mention that. So with Saturn in your sign, not Jupiter, because Jupiter will love to just indulge, but Saturn in a person's sign, especially somebody like Aquarius, which is, this is your co-ruler, actually. Most people identify or associate Uranus with Aquarius for good reason, because of the attributes of being very quirky and ahead of your time and just, obsessed with technology perhaps, or maybe somebody who's like anti-technology just to be a contrarian, a Luddite, I think they call them. But in any case, somebody who is a nonconformist. And Saturn is very conventional, or traditional is a better way of putting it. But in any case, Saturn can, create a lot of, or generate a lot of serious moods, because the person wants to accomplish something. They don't want to just have life be, all fun and games. They want something tangible. If you've ever talked to somebody who's a Capricorn, even, I'm not talking about their rising sign, their sun sign, they really give off that serious vibe a lot of times, even when they're joking around. There's almost like this, like sometimes it's like so dry, their sense of humor, that you wonder if they're actually being serious, because that's how they are. That's where they operate from. So this having the North Node in the fifth house can mean finally letting your hair down. If you've had a period of time, and certainly you've had eclipses in your sign and your opposite sign, Leo, between, I don't know, 2016 and 2018-ish. And so that kind of shook things up in your world. And maybe the aftermath of that has been a little bit difficult. I mean, you do have like Pluto in the 12th house. Yeah, Aquarians have been through some stuff. Saturn in the 12th house, dark night of the soul. Now that's gone, but I mean, it was there. Pluto is, very intense in any house, but the 12th house, my goodness. So this may be a time to embrace pleasure, which is what the fifth house represents. And it can be in the form of artistic appreciation, or, in any of those kind of entertainment forms, movies, theater, when all of these things open up completely, of course. And just things that make you laugh, that make you smile. Even sporting events and things like that. Just our hobbies, maybe that's something that you need to revisit. So anyway, Aquarius, that's what I have for you. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you would like me to look at your charts, if you would like to know more things about what is happening, and more precisely, looking at your natal chart for other transits, or just your, interpreting what you came into this world with, that cosmic blueprint of this lifetime, please click on the link below and see what I offer. I hope you have a great year. Thanks for listening. Take care. Bye.